Oh dear, we're running a bit late. I don't know how that happened.
Running a bit late.
There we go, that worked.
Oh, hello.
That was me, sorry.
Okay. We're in a loop. We're in a loop.
That was me, sorry.
We're in a loop. We're in a loop.
Right, solved.
Okay, really good.
Oh,
Okay,
dear.
we need to go then. Is everybody all good?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Alan's okay with his
Yep.
notes.
All good?
good.
Yeah. All right then. Here we go.
Woohoo!
Ten, nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 550 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I am Carlos, and in this week's show, Newark Airport ATC has a bit of a moment when it doesn't know where most of its aircraft are. There's a massive growth expected from Emirates with around 1,500 pilots being recruited, and yet again more inconsistency regarding passport validity to and from some European countries. Nev will have a meltdown over this, I am sure. In the military news this week, we discussed the fly past of the aircraft involved in the VE-80 celebrations in the UK. In a separate story, the incident or accident that occurred with a Biggin Hill based Spitfire in the southeast of England. Also joining me this week back in the studio over in the Master Suite studios is of course our master of all things slidey and twiddly. It's Matt Smith.
Slidey and twiddly, there we are. Don't know what to do with that information. Hello.
Hello. What, Matt, can I just say, we talk about this every week, I know, on the show, but has someone turned off the third bar on the heater above,
I
above the UK?
I think they have, yeah, absolutely. It's gone a bit... It's got a bit chilly, hasn't it? Absolutely. It's supposed
so
to be
cold.
a bit nicer tomorrow, though, I'm pleased to say, which although we're looking at winds of around 10 miles an hour, because I'm going to be stood outside on a big park tomorrow for a VE Day celebration. So I'm sort of both excited and dreading it all at the same time, because I think it's going to...
I would take a woolly jumper.
Yes,
woolly jumper, gloves,
Yeah.
hat, scarf.
I'm going to take my special neoprene coat, I think, especially.
Yeah. Actually, Sturman in the chat room just said we'll have to ask the government for some sunshine. There'll probably be a tax on that as well.
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Yes,
Ooh,
yes.
Bit early doors political,
Oh,
Carlos.
I know. Hey. Right. Also joining us from across the fields, the glens, the rivers, and the glorious Buckinghamshire countryside is, of course, our connoisseur of all things BA and Seat 1A. It's Neville Bounds.
Yes, here we are again. Although rather dusty in the studio today, we've had the ensuite ripped out, and you know what those builders like? They like making a mess, and they've certainly not come up short on this occasion. So everything on the first floor of the house is absolutely covered in dust. So the fact that anything's working at all is a surprise to me, I must say. But no, we had some nice weather here today. A little bit chilly. Also had a nice Atlas A400M fly overhead at about 1,000 feet, as RAF Halton is not very far from here, and there was a passing out parade. But inevitably, of course, the WhatsApp keyboard warriors all kicked off.
No.
I saw a plane flying very low with propellers on it. I thought it was going to crash.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
blimey.
obviously, I had to correct them.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
As you can imagine. So, yeah. But there we go. So, no, pretty good this week. Yeah, so once this construction business is out of the way, I'll be a bit happier, I must say.
Oh, good to see you back. Anyway,
Yeah,
Nev,
thank you.
at least you can help these people out who worrying about these aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We've got no Andy this week. Andy is he's busy doing sim sort kind of things, but also out enjoying himself, I think is the word to use.
Yes, he says he's entertaining some training captains on his course.
He also said he said taking over the mantle from you, Nev.
With regard to
lunches and customer, absolutely, So somebody's got to look fine wine and dine the various people.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's having a good time down there, I'm sure.
But don't fear, because we have managed to rustle up a very awesome pilot indeed to join us on the show this evening, all the way from over in a glorious part of the world in Ireland. It is, of course, our very good friend of the show, Allan Whyte. Hello, Alan.
Hey, Carlos, how are you? I just thought about it there. So we don't have Captain AW, we've got First Officer AW. So there we go. I'm a loyal substitute.
So, Alan, hello. How are you? What's going on in the world of you over there in glorious Ireland?
Busy, Carlos. Since I saw you last, I've done a type rating. I don't know if I did my type rating when I saw you last, but I've done it now anyway. Paperwork's in the logbook, and the licensing and medical are complete and all signed and corrected. And I'm actually doing my line training at the moment, which is very interesting. Hard work. I've never seen so many training courses, computer-based e-learning courses, and every time I open my laptop, there's a new notification that I've got to complete something or 10 things. So, yeah, it's really enjoyable, but I'm in the thick of it at the moment, and thankfully the weather is good. So I'm getting to see a lovely part of Ireland as I fly around, doing a lot of coastal missions and exploring every airport that we've got here on the Emerald Isle, and they're all looking beautiful.
So what's for the benefit of the viewers and listeners? What's the aircraft that you are now the glorious flyer of? It's
a Beechcraft King Air 200. So lovely turboprop, very quick aircraft. Nothing I've ever controlled before. So it's very, very slippery and very quick to get out of hand. So you need to be on top of it, and that's where I am at the moment, just trying to stay on top of it. But like I said to you, I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm doing okay. So I'm not going to upset the apple cart. I'll just keep training and keep taking on board the feedback that I'm getting. That's all I can do.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening, Alan. Very much appreciated for you to come join us anyway. And as I said, we said before we came on air, me and Nev are definitely looking forward to seeing you again at the Bray Air show in the not too distant future over in August.
Plans are afoot. I'm already engaging with the powers that be on media passes and bar passes and drink vouchers and coupons and all the stuff that we're going to need. Yeah, Matt's on Ryanair now looking for a flight, I think.
They're not rather reasonably priced, actually. They're not too badly priced, the old flight prices. But no, we're looking forward to, Alan, looking forward to getting some of the black stuff into us as well, for sure. Yep. But Nev, it's the beginning of the month, a fresh month, and it's time to say a very special thank you to some of our amazing listeners.
Yes, it is. And of course, doing this show does have some costs associated with it in terms of website hosting costs, media hosting costs, all sorts of things, and travel and what have you when we're going out to do air shows. So we have some very kind Patreon and PayPal donators that help us keep the show on the road. And this month, from the Patreon donators, it's Richard Adams, Derek Smith, Bill Aronek, Sam Dawson, Alex Robinson, Dirk S, Sasha Beer, Stephen Ivey, Nicholas Codling, Louis Kasharis, Allan Whyte, thank you, Alan, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Nicholas Hewitt, Masha Hirtz, Ruben Wells, Neil Lamworn, Graham Haley, Jonathan Warner, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Stuart Backer, and Stephanie Plummer. And also we have a new donator, Carl S. in New Jersey. Thank you very much indeed, Carl. And the people that help us with by providing PayPal donations are Jenny Parkinson and Mazuz Karim. Thank you to one and all of you. We really couldn't do the show without you, so thanks very much indeed.
Yes, big thanks to all of you. Thank you very much. I'm going to say a hello to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Let's have a look at the top of the list, see who's in there first. We have got Mazus. Hello to you. Good to see you in there. Richard Adams says, afternoon all. Captain Cruz is in there as well. John Falk. Hello, John. Richard E. Flagg. Hello to you as well. Bill. Good to see you in there, Bill. Hobby Time, we've got Sturman, Garth's in there, good to see you. Masha, the lovely Masha, hello, good to see you in there. Mark Priestley, made it on time, good evening to the best aircraft show on the planet, says Mark. Oh, thank you, Mark, very kind of you. We've got Simply Bespoke Travel, says good evening all, hello to you. Kevin Wallander, hello to you, he says evening all from Sweden. Hello to you. Darren Smith's in there. Evening all, he says. And I think I missed anyone. John Falk, hello to you. John Falk mentions his focus on the bar passes. Oh, very good for our trip to Dublin. Definitely that one. That's a good one. And hello to you all. Thanks for joining us this evening on this Wednesday. It's the 7th of May. Already creeping well into May already. And welcome to you all who's joined us on this Wednesday evening for the show tonight. We've got loads of great stuff to get through tonight, including our retro airline ad of the week, where we're going to go all the way back to the 1960s this week for an airline we've not featured before. So more on that later. But we've got loads of news to get through. So if the team's ready,
we are. Yeah,
let's go.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
And the first story this week comes from bbc.co.uk. Newark air traffic controllers briefly lost contact with aircraft. Air traffic controllers at Newark Liberty International Airport briefly lost communications with planes under their control, unable to see, hear or talk to them last week, officials said. On the 28th of April, the incident led to multiple employees going on trauma leave, contributing to hundreds of delayed flights. More than 150 flights were cancelled on Monday alone last week, according to tracking website FlightAware. The airport, one of New York's busiest hubs, had been grappling with staff shortages for more than a week. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said on Monday that contact with air traffic control was lost for around 30 seconds, but it did not mean that planes were going to crash. The primary communication line went down, the backup line didn't fire up, and so for 30 seconds we lost contact with air traffic, Duffy told Fox News. Were their planes going to crash? No, he said they have communication devices, but it's a sign that we have a frail system in place and it has to be fixed, he said. The FAA also acknowledged in a statement that the antiquated air traffic control system is affecting our workforce. Confirming the controllers were on leave following the incident, the FAA said it could not quickly replace them. They said we continue to train controllers who will eventually be assigned to this busy airspace, the statement said. ATC control operations at the airport have come under sustained criticism recently. Last week, United Airlines announced it was cancelling 35 flights per day from its Newark schedule because the airport can't handle the number of planes that are scheduled to operate there. In the past few days, on more than one occasion, technology that FAA air traffic controllers rely on to manage the aircraft coming in and out of Newark has failed, resulting in dozens of diverted flights, hundreds of delayed and cancelled flights, and CEO Scott Kirby said. He also said the issues were compounded because of over 20% of FAA controllers that walked off the job. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association said employees took leave under provisions for workers who experienced a traumatic event at work. The union would not say how many controllers had taken leave or how long they lost contact with the aircraft for, but the incident comes as the US Department of Transportation last week unveiled a package designed to boost the numbers of FAA air traffic controllers. The department said it was on track to hire at least 2,000 controllers this year. In February, the Trump administration began firing hundreds of FAA employees weeks after the fatal mid-air plane collision over in Washington, D.C. Transport Secretary Duffy said he's planned to unveil a plan on Thursday to seek billions of dollars from Congress to reform infrastructure and staffing. He said, we're going to build a brand new air traffic control system from new telecom to new radars to new infrastructure, he told Fox News. So worrying things, Nev, when you're a pilot especially, and you lose communication with the ground, albeit for 30 seconds.
Yeah, the thing is that aviation is built on, well, obviously safety clearly is the number one thing, but also contingency. You know, what happens if you lose one engine on a two-engine aircraft? Those sorts of things. You know, there's plenty of things in place to deal with those sort of things. And clearly there is quite a lot with regard to ATC as well, I would imagine. But that airspace around New York City is absolutely... well, it's full on. It's really congested between the three main airports, JFK, LaGuardia and Newark as well. And if anything goes wrong, that's a big moment, definitely. So they've got to have contingency plans in place. There's a whole load of stuff going on with this story, I'm sure. But I think that they have got to find a way of dealing with this better somehow, because if they do have a big moment like this, it's not just the delays and cancellations, it's the knock-on to the schedules and the airlines and all the rest of it that pick up massive delays.
Would definitely be a Squawk 7600, Alan.
Absolutely. Only last week I was going into an airport and tuned up the ATIS and the ATIS wasn't working, and for about 10 seconds my heart started skipping a beat. I was like, I'm too young in the job for this kind of messing now. So yeah, luckily enough the captain just said, just contact the tower directly. But do you know what, if you're going to start, you know, if you're on departure or approach and you got to start changing frequencies, it's kind of taking your eye off the ball or making these last minute changes. You don't want to do it. It's I don't know, I just worry, you know, the FAA has just had, they're dropping the ball regularly, and it's just, you know, we've seen the Potomac this year and numerous other accidents, incidents and near misses. It's just, you know, when's it going to stop?
Yeah, Ant Flynn in the chat room says it's a crazy situation. Apparently he's flown into there many times. What a mess, he says in the chat room. There we go. Yeah, it's not the greatest thing, but I'd like to see what their systems are like, Nev. What the computer systems and stuff that they're using, if they're that bad.
I think the thing is, it's like anything, isn't it? When it's all working well, it's the workload must be very high for the controllers. But if you've got 20% of the controllers walking off the job, and there's backup issues as well, that's just the whole the holes in the Swiss cheese are lining up perfectly for a big moment, aren't they?
Imagine being the IT consultant, Matt, for the air traffic control centres. That'd be a heck of a job.
Oh, absolutely. God, no. Never in a million years. No, thank you. Just no. No. Right, Matt, you have got the next story and an update on this accident that happened a little while back. Yes. Just bear with me a moment. There we go. So it's AOPA or AOPA.org is the source for this one. And the headline is Loose Plug Likely Caused Rob Holland's Fatal Accident. The images from the NTSB preliminary report show the left side elevator counterweight container and the threaded fastener that apparently came loose and interfered with the operation of the elevator. The red paint on the fastener was likely transferred from the adjacent horizontal stabilizer structure, the photos have shown. The NTSB preliminary report notes that multiple witnesses watched the accident unfold as Holland approached a landing on runway 8 at Langley Air Force Base in Hampton, Virginia, where he was scheduled to perform in a weekend air show. Holland flew his single-seat MX aircraft MXS, serial number 001, just for your information, from Tennessee, and leveled off around 50 feet above the runway after making a normal approach. After flying straight down the runway for several hundred feet, the plane then porpoised twice, pitched straight up, rolled 90 degrees to the left, and then descended to the ground impact, the report states. The report notes that Holland had collaborated with the manufacturer on aircraft modifications, including an access hole on the left and right elevator where counterweights could be inserted or removed to adjust the elevator field depending on the particular routine being flown. The counterweights were secured by a threaded aluminium plug inserted into the hole. Investigators found the left side elevator counterweight plug around 10 feet behind the aircraft wreckage, with threads intact and dirt combination that was consistent with dirt found on the elevator. Additionally, around half of the circumference of the left elevator counterweight plug displayed gouging, and there was evidence of paint transfer, the report notes, with corresponding marks found on the adjacent horizontal stabilizer. The rest of the reported findings detailed aircraft engine and propeller damage consistent with an engine that was functioning and a propeller that was rotating on impact. The aircraft's most recent inspection was completed 3rd of March, the report notes. Holland, who is not named in the NTSB report, is, as is customary, held an airline transport pilot certificate with various ratings, as well as flight instructor and ground instructor certificates. He had reported 15,387 hours on the application for his most recent FAA medical certificate, which was issued back on the 5th of March. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest with you here. I don't really understand any of that report.
So basically, Matt, he's a display.
No, I got that. But they were talking about like the threads, and it's sort of, I don't know. Have I misunderstood the reading of it? Because it's talking a lot about the various threaded aluminium plugs and all that kind of thing. But basically said there didn't appear to be anything wrong with them.
The aircrafting that Rob flew, it was obviously a display a very high performance aircraft. You know, the amount of G-forces that's put on these aircraft, especially when they're flying these in a display, is incredible. And with these kind of fasteners and plugs and stuff, they obviously have to they have to stand up for the kind of the battering that they get. But obviously something failed here. But when you look at these guys flying these aircraft, and we've seen them at various air shows that we've been at through the years, flying, you know, the forces that these guys put these aircraft into with spins and the rolls and the pitch up attitudes and stuff like that, it baffles the mind how they manage to stay in one piece.
But what am I missing? Because I don't know. Have I missed something in that report that I read there? Because it sort of rather implied that essentially they didn't find anything wrong with the aircraft. It was consistent with this and it was consistent with that.
I think the investigation is still ongoing with this.
Right.
From what I'm just checking on here online at the moment, I think it's very much still in the midst of being investigated by the NTSB. So.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it's a sad loss as well to obviously the display circuit as well. Rob Holland was quite a well-known pilot from the sort of display circuit. So yeah, very sad indeed, and young as well. He's only just a couple of years older than me and you, Matt.
Ooh. Practically a spring chicken then.
Yes. Right, moving on. Nev, to the next story with this one, and this is quite interesting. I found this one this afternoon. I thought it was interesting that they're deciding to do this.
Yeah, it is interesting, actually. It's on aviationatoz.com, and it says that Boeing's long-awaited 777X program is nearing certification, finally. With the 4th test aircraft already airborne, the company aims to deliver its first Boeing 777-9 to Lufthansa by 2026 from Frankfurt Airport. However, Lufthansa and other future operators won't see one design feature initially proposed, which is engine chevrons. Once part of the 777X concept, the serrated edge nacelle design was removed during development and will not be part of the final production aircraft. Engine chevrons, which are those jagged teeth at the rear of the jet engine nacelles, were originally planned for the Boeing 777X, just as they had been implemented on the Boeing 787 and 737 MAX. The concept aimed to reduce engine noise by smoothing the interaction between hot exhaust and cooler bypass air. However, despite being featured in the early renderings of this, Boeing ultimately dropped chevrons from the 777X design. Well, according to Simple Flying, the change was driven by new developments. Instead of using chevrons, Boeing and GE employed a new low-drag, low-noise nozzle on the GE9X engines. Well, Terry Beeshold, who's the 777X chief project engineer, confirmed this shift, stating that the nozzle redesign achieves similar acoustic performance whilst offering better aerodynamics and lower weight. In addition, advancements in materials, particularly ceramic matrix composites, enabled internal noise reduction techniques. GE and Safran integrated honeycomb acoustic treatments and strategically perforated composite skins to capture and reduce sound more efficiently than chevrons, and without the associated drag and thrust penalties. Engine chevrons were developed in collaboration between Boeing, NASA and GE. These serrated structures were introduced as part of Boeing's Quiet Technology Demonstrator initiatives. First seen on the 787 and then adopted by the 747-8 and 737 MAX, they effectively reduced fan noise by up to 15 decibels during takeoff and landing, which is really significant. The mechanism is straightforward. Chevrons help mix hot and cold airflows more smoothly, reducing turbulence and therefore noise. However, they do introduce a small aerodynamic penalty, resulting in roughly 0.5% reduction in thrust. Whilst this trade-off was accepted on earlier aircraft, newer materials and internal noise suppression methods offer better solutions for the 777X. The Boeing 787 and 747-8 both feature chevrons on the GNX engines, and Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 powered 787s also use them. The Boeing 737 MAX, with its CFM LEAP 1B engines, includes nacelle chevrons as part of its noise mitigation strategy. However, Airbus has generally avoided this technology. The A350, for instance, uses alternative acoustic treatments within its nacelles and relies on ultra-high bypass engines to manage noise. Designed with fuel efficiency and noise reduction in mind, the GE9X uses fewer fan blades, advanced materials like ceramic composites and optimized internal acoustics. Each engine is estimated to cost $45 million, making it the most expensive commercial engine to date. Wow.
$45 million. There's two of those as well.
Yeah. And, well, if you can just imagine the noise reduction that's been possible with those chevrons so far, and if they're saying that they can improve upon that without having them on there and without having a performance penalty as well, that's great, isn't it? I mean, because you listen to these aircraft take off, and they're all on probably D-rated thrust anyway for most departures, but they are a lot quieter than previous generations, aren't they?
I always like the chevrons. I think they're quite cool on the rear of the engines.
Me too. Yeah, I quite like them as a design feature.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I know they're there for a purpose, but yeah. What do you think, Alan? With the
they look lovely. I'll give them that. But do you know what? You kind of feel for Boeing with the 777 project. You think it was planned that it would just re-engine it to make it more efficient, and then also have the bendable wings, but it really is turning to be a slog for them again. And I just kind of hope that they get it flying sooner rather than later, because you don't want to see them lose orders.
No. You don't need them to lose orders. I think there was a story I saw. I don't think I featured it this week, but I think Qatar have just signed or possibly signing up for a big Boeing order. I think very soon.
In line with a visit from a certain somebody to the Middle East, I heard as well.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, perhaps they should leave the chevrons on and include this new kind of design. That'll be double the noise suppression, surely.
I think the other thing is because the performance margins, whilst they might seem very small, you start amortizing that over many takeoffs and departures and go arounds and all the times when you're needing high levels of thrust from the engine. It probably makes a massive difference on things like fuel consumption over a period of a year, bearing in mind all the aircraft they've got flying. So yeah, although these things are marginal, it seems, it does add up to a big thing. A bit like the weight of an aircraft in the first place. Of course, you put that penalty over the complete fleet, and the accountants will pop downstairs and have a word, won't they?
Ant Flynn, hello Ant, in the chat room, makes a good point actually. Nev says that will Boeing ever be able to catch up with manufacture and delivery? Everything is so far behind. That is right. You know, these orders come in, but I think it just adds to the backlog with both Boeing and Airbus with these orders because they are so far behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will they ever catch up?
No, both major manufacturers have got huge backlogs with orders. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, give me a call. I'll come work for you. Alan, you've got the next story, and it's all what you're used to, I think, Alan. Bit of plush seating.
Plush seats up the front, eh? The story comes from the independent.co.uk. American Airlines flagship business class to debut in June on this route. American Airlines has announced that its new flagship suite, a business class, will debut on a Chicago to London Heathrow Dreamliner, and tickets are now on sale. I was going to say Neville be gone straight away, but it's not British Airways, so maybe not. Customers can visit a dedicated website page to purchase one of 51 flagship suite berths on the inaugural service, which will depart from Chicago O'Hare on June the 5th. American Airlines has also launched ticket sales for flagship suite services that will begin later in the year from Philadelphia to Heathrow and Zurich, and from Dallas-Fort Worth to Brisbane. Well, that's a long trip. Tickets for the truly premium flagship suite cost around $3,400 or £2,560 one way. The June the 5th flight will also debut an upgraded premium economy cabin with tickets for the 32 seats available starting from around $1,500, which is £1,130 one way. The flagship suite, designed by Seattle-based firm Teague, features a privacy door, more personal storage in inverted commas, I don't know what that means, a wireless charging pad, and a one-of-a-kind chaise longue seating option with an adjustable headrest pillow. Extras, meanwhile, will include premium amenity kits, not just the standard rubbish, containing an array of luxury skincare items, plus a comfy duvet blanket and a refreshing dual-sided pillow with cool touch fabric on one side and traditional fabric on the other. The new premium economy seats feature double the amount of in-seat storage and headrest wings, excuse me, for increased comfort and privacy. Heather Garbuden, I think that's her name, American's chief customer officer, said every aspect of our new 787-9 is designed to feel premium in nature. So that's interesting. To be honest, those prices, you know, if you're going to get a flight from Dallas to Brisbane for, what's it, $3,400 in their flagship suite, that's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's also a very long flight, isn't it? DFW to Brisbane. Wow.
I think it's one of the longest there is, yeah.
Must be. Yeah, gosh.
I was lucky a couple of years ago, Nev, when I flew out to the US, flew flagship return with American Airlines, and that was very nice. It was obviously the old flagship business class set up, but without the door, with the closing door and stuff. But I have to say, it was very nice. The quality of the screen, all the bedding and all that kind of thing, and the fact that you get three windows to look through as opposed to your usual kind of one if you're in economy, that was nice. But great food and great service. I thoroughly enjoyed American's flagship business. But yeah. And the other airline that I've flown business was with you, actually, Nev, with BA. So
I was on the 447, wasn't it, on the way back from Dubai?
Yeah.
That's right, wasn't it? Yes. I'm a bit concerned about business class fares. It doesn't affect me, obviously, much these days. But talking to my chums in the industry that I was in, and the IT industry and a few others over the last couple of weeks, with a bit of sort of global uncertainty with regard to all sorts of things, from tariffs to global downturn and all the rest of it, there's definitely a move to reduce the amount of executives travelling at the moment. That's what I've heard anecdotally, at least. And people just aren't prepared to pay the full whack that they used to be paying previously. So I don't know. I don't want to talk ourselves into a recession here, but I definitely get the impression that people are having a very good look at the bottom line. So airlines and their fares need to be competitive at the moment, because those horrifically expensive business class tickets, which are currently on sale with some carriers, that just is not going to be tolerated by a lot of industry and commerce, I would say.
I was watching a video on YouTube. Sorry, Alan. This week, this applies to you, actually, Alan. Watching a video on YouTube this week where they were slating the hell out of Aer Lingus' business class product.
Yeah, look, it depends on what route you get, but I have had a couple where it's been suboptimal, shall we say, and others have been absolutely fantastic. It depends on the crew and the aircraft you get on the day, and I know it shouldn't be like that when you're paying a premium fare, but it really does come down to that. But going back to Nev's point, from being in the lounges over the last, I'd say, 6 weeks, I think I've been in Manchester, Glasgow, Dublin, and Edinburgh, and all of the lounges have been absolutely rammed. And maybe that's people using loyalty programs or whatever you call Priority Plus, or whatever the other ways to get into the lounges are. But if that's reflective of what's happening actually within the aircraft, I wouldn't be too worried now for the foreseeable anyway. I think the future's bright, the near future.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think that this next year, I think, is probably going to be okay. What I was kind of alluding to was what might be happening after that, the way people are dealing with their air travel at the moment. But, I'm no expert on that subject, so I stand to be corrected if it's all great as well.
Be nice to be able to fly business class all the time.
Well, yeah, it depends on the route, doesn't it? And who's paying for the ticket?
Yeah. Although I will say, Nev, as we were talking about before we came on air, having got the option to upgrade to business class, well, not me, but my wife Gemma, there is a big difference between flying business class on short haul kind of European flights and long haul, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I mean the aircraft you'll be on, an A320 or 21, I presume. There's no difference. I mean, in business class, you've got the middle seat blocked off, and you've got a better selection of food, and probably hot food as well. And free bar. That's about it. There's no seat pitch improvement at all. And quite a big leap on fares very often as well. I mean, depending on how full the flight is as well, about what they're trying to do, and if they're trying to cram more people into economy, they'll bump people up to business class if they can.
I'm all right. I paid a little bit extra, Nev, you'll be pleased to know, and got the overwing exit row on the 321.
Oh, good. So if all goes wrong, you'll be the first out.
I'll be the first one out.
Excellent.
Door in hand.
Yeah, that'll be on the wall in the studio next show. Flyingmag.com. Don't give me ideas. Flyingmag.com is this next story. And good news for all you would-be young pilots out there. Emirates have announced they're going to be hiring over 1,500 new pilots within the next 2 years as they continue to grow their growth trajectory, flying the world's youngest fleet. According to a news release this week, published by the Dubai-based airline, on Thursday last week, the commitment to hire new aviators came in honour of World Pilots' Day on April the 26th. With its phenomenal growth strategy in mind, Emirates is focused on hiring experienced pilots for roles in one of its 4 programs: direct entry captains, accelerated command, first officers type rated and first officers non-type rated. The release stated. The new hires will be embraced into a 4,600-strong flight crew community. The carrier has onboarded nearly 2,000 pilots since 2022, and this year Emirates recruitment team will visit more than 40 cities around the world, aiming to hire 550 pilots. Emirates President Tim Clark said in February that the airline would like to grow its presence in the US amid frustrations with delayed Boeing 777X deliveries. Emirates stated that over 80 pilots have benefited from its accelerated command program that fast-tracks first officers to the role of captain. Pilots for the carrier operate a modern fleet of 261 wide-bodied aircraft, including the A380s, 777s and the A350s. Emirates' new addition. Emirates also flies to over 148 destinations across 6 continents. Emirates and pilots enjoy a competitive tax-free salary with profit-sharing benefits, ensuring security and stability, the release stated. They have access to a world-class Provident Fund and retirement benefits, as well as life, medical and dental coverage. Blimey. This is what interested me in this story. Emirates chauffeurs its pilots to and from work from villas in gated communities using luxury cars. The airline offers 42 annual leave days along with tickets for family in its first or business class. And pilots are part of a vibrant community in Dubai where they live alongside colleagues from over 112 different countries, the release has stated. With excellent infrastructure, first-class hospitality, a buzzing nightlife, family and friendly communities, international schools and amenities, Dubai is a city of choice for millions of expatriates. Well, sounds right, you know, this pilot job with Emirates. I mean, the benefits are still there, or benefits are there.
It's a massive recruitment drive.
Unbelievable.
And we were talking to John, our producer, last week, who's based in the Middle East, and he was saying that the flying part's never been better in terms of the revenue and also the the aircraft orders. And especially when you've got someone like Emirates, who is, fantastically positioned right in the Middle East there, they can go east or west, and of course they have a tremendous route network as well, but it's just eye-watering the number of people that they need to recruit, but if all these aircraft orders are coming in, they've got to have crews to operate the aircraft, obviously. So and because a lot of their routes are quite long, they'll need standby first officers or crews type people in the cabin as well. So it'll be a 3-person operation or 4-person operation in some cases on the very long routes. It's great to see it, but I do hope that they are going to come from somewhere, because pilot recruitment, or in fact pilot and cabin crew recruitment, has always been a big thing, and it takes a lot to get people through all the courses and to get them online and to get them trained and what have you. So it's a big project in itself.
Are you tempted?
It is, Nev, is that absolutely I'm tempted. I mean, when you read that story there, it's like from Visit Dubai, selling you all the the perks of it. But when it goes back to the actual training, Nev, you think about it, it takes 3 to 4 years, and I know it takes 18 months to do your training, but by the time they hire, recruit and get everyone in from the start, and even into a regional airline for a couple of years to get them experience on a smaller aircraft before you move on to an A350, a 777 or an A380, they need to be thinking that kind of nearly 5 years ahead. So recruitment is such a big concern for not just the pilots, the ATC as well, because there is such a long, drawn-out training program for everyone.
Mark Precy says in the chat room, Nev, how does BA compete with that?
Well, they can't, can they? I mean, as the CEO of Emirates once said, if you're going to operate the A380, you need a lot of them to do it properly. I mean, BA have got 12. And they might be getting a few more at some stage, but that'll be it. So, no, BA can't compete with Emirates at all under these circumstances. And, there's a lot of BA crew a couple I know have gone to Emirates because of the, improved terms and conditions. And again, it depends on what your own personal situation is with the family and all the rest of it. But inevitably, most Emirates operations, I would imagine, are medium to long haul. There's not much in the short haul sector compared to, the European operators.
Bill saying in the chat room, entry-level first officers earning around $84,000 annually, captains making a minimum of $132,000.
That's tax-free. What Darren Smith said is exactly right. Incredible.
Yeah. Do you fancy living out in Dubai tax-free, Matt? Get out there and enjoy the sunshine.
I get where you're coming from. It is, of course, tax-free. However, the downside to that, if there is possibly one,
it's hot.
No, it's not that. It's just that it's tax-free, but that nothing is provided for you. You have to make sure you've got your own healthcare and all that kind of thing, and so it's, potentially quite expensive, if you see what I mean. But no, my trip out there was out of this world. I was very lucky that I got to fly with Emirates both ways, one on the 380, one on the 777, sorry. Absolutely lovely it was. Cattle class is not cattle class as the rest of the airlines are like. It's positively luxurious in comparison. I've never felt so safe as I did walking around Dubai and all that kind of thing. If I was ever given the opportunity or there was a really bloody good reason for me to go out there long term, I absolutely would do it. Absolutely would do it. I loved every minute of my shortest week I've ever had in my entire life.
Keep playing those numbers.
Always.
I'll keep trying every week. I'll keep trying.
Absolutely. I just want to win enough so that I can go on a regular basis. That's all. I have no desire to leave the UK, but when
flying premium, Emirates premium.
No need. Cattle class is amazing.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. It's just. But when you just sort of think, we had a couple of nice weeks, didn't we? And it was quite nice outside, and it was nice to go and spend time in the garden. And then I'm looking out at the studio window at the moment, and it's grey and horrible, and you're thinking, I'd quite like to go to Dubai just for the weekend. Yeah, I quite like that. Anyway,
right. You've got the next story, Matt. Sad news for this is.
It's not sad news.
It is because it's retiring aircraft is never a good thing.
All right, fair enough. It's the 767, which is a shame. We like that one.
It's lovely.
Yeah, we don't mind that one. Iceland Air is to end wide-body operations in 2029. Iceland Air will cease wide-body operations when it retires its Boeing 767-300ERs in 2029 and instead fly an entirely narrow-body fleet. The carrier has been considering 767 replacements as part of a fleet overhaul effort, but said on the 30th of April that it will not replace the ageing type with another twin-aisle aircraft. This decision aligns with Iceland Air's core strategy and key competitive advantage, the ability to operate economical narrow-body aircraft further east and west than its competitors via Iceland, as well as to streamline its cost base, the airline has stated. Iceland Air last year began taking leased Airbus A321LRs and plans to LR, I presume, stands for long range. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And plans to have 4 in service during this year's summer season. It also is due to begin taking aircraft from its firm order for 13 Airbus A321 XLRs in 2029 and has options for a further 12 of said type. Those Airbus commitments marked a shift away from Iceland Air being predominantly Boeing in operations, as the carrier plans for the retirement of the 767s and the 757s. Good riddance to the 757. And that they have tended to operate its lengthier routes, a task that the long-range Airbus narrow-bodies will now take on. Iceland Air currently has 21 737 MAX jets in its fleet, 17 Boeing MAX 8s and 4 9s, alongside 3 A321 long-range aircraft, 11 757-200s, 3 767-300 aircraft, They were the ERs, by the way, and 6 de Havilland Canada-8s. It made the fleet announcement as it outlined a 10% reduction in its first quarter loss and said it is expecting profitability improvements in the second and third quarters. I mean, these are two-engine aircraft, aren't they? If my memory serves. But I don't know. I mean,
well, they're saving money, focusing on short haul stuff rather than doing the long haul.
Well, but they've gone for the XLRs, haven't they? So they've got a handful of those to be able to do some of those longer routes. I mean, me personally, I'm not that fussed whether it's a wide body or a narrow body, but how do the more experienced flyers feel about just sort of essentially having single aircraft operations on some of the longer routes?
Single aisle.
I've not done one yet, and I will do one at some point. But obviously I'm not an accountant, and just as well I'm not, because I would keep the 7.5 and 767 going for as long as possible. But it's all about the fuel burn, isn't it, and the operating costs. Yeah. So with the sort of range that the Airbus aircraft offer. And the fuel savings, it's massive. So I think that's probably a very big part of the decision here, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, as well, from a parts and maintenance point of view, by solidifying your fleet with one model effectively, it's going to really cut back on the amount of inventory, the amount of spares they have to have around, Europe and North America, Canada. So I'm sure that's a factor that they've brought into it as well, from a business point of view.
Well, and let's be honest, it's worked really well for Ryanair, is it not? I mean, it's it's that thing, isn't it? It's the same set of spares and all that kind of thing. You just get a job lot of them, don't you? I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, well, perhaps we should save up, Nev, and do a single aisle trip next year from here to the US with is it JetBlue, Alan, who do the...
You can go JetBlue, absolutely. Yeah. They do a single aisle, I think it's A320 LR from Heathrow to Boston and JFK. But JetBlue are flying from Madrid, Paris, Amsterdam, Dublin, Edinburgh. They really are expanding their catchment area into Europe at an alarming rate. And even Aer Lingus had another new launch this week to Indianapolis. So they're using the 321 as a real workhorse for them as well, and they're kind of putting them into these more regional airports where a 330 you might get a quarter fill, but you know what? Who knows, if you filled 3/4 of the A320, it's going to be cost effectively worth it for them with the LEAP engines. So it's really expanding European connections into some of the other places in the United States that normally would never see, on the old hub and spoke models.
And I can remember a time, not that many years ago, where people say, oh, well, the thing is, Nev, one of these days we'll be flying A320s across the pond with plenty of performance in hand and range. I would never have believed it. And with the incredible fuel savings and efficiency that has come from these new engines, it's now been possible. And I stand corrected, because I never thought that was going to be a serious route across the pond for single aisle aircraft such as the A320 and 321s.
Agreed.
But we need to remember that, flying across the pond in a single aisle aircraft is always going to be much more tolerable if the seat is a business class seat.
Yes.
There we go. Right, Nev, you've got the next story, which I'm sure you're excited about.
Well, I am. Now, I would like lots of input from the chat room, please, and you three fellas as well on this story, because I've got to be in my bonnet about this whole passport and documentation business. It's on theguardian.com, and it says some Britons flying to Scandinavia this summer risk being turned away at the gate if they are travelling on an older passport due to the inconsistent application of Schengen travel rules, it has emerged. The Guardian was contacted by a British artist who was denied boarding by the airline Norwegian because her passport was issued more than 9 years and 9 months ago. She was due to fly from Gatwick Airport to Copenhagen. The official advice from the UK and Danish governments is that Denmark follows Schengen area rules. This means that a passport must be within 10 years of its date issue, on the day that you enter the EU and must also be valid for at least 3 months after the end of your stay. However, the artist, who wishes to remain anonymous, was due to attend the Copenhagen International Documentary Festival and was denied boarding on the 23rd of March, despite holding a passport that satisfied both criteria. Its date of issue was the 13th of June 2015 and it's due to expire in August. Upon arriving at check-in, the automated system directed me to the desk, she said. The staff member consulted a colleague who stated that my passport was invalid because it was issued more than 9 years and 9 months ago. But there is no such rule. The decision demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the actual entry requirements. I attempted to explain this to staff, including the manager, but was dismissively told that others have complained on social media and that there was no way I would be allowed into Denmark, she added. Airlines are obliged to check passport validity and other travel documents to ensure compliance with destination country regulations. That is because if a passenger is turned back at the border, the airline will be penalised. Well, the Copenhagen Police Department, which is responsible for the border control at the Danish capital airports, confirmed its position. Once a passport was 9 years and 9 months old from the date of issue, it was invalid, they said, adding that Schengen did not recognise extensions of 10-year passports. Before October 2018, Britons renewing their passports could add up to 9 extra months from their previous passport onto the expiry date. It is the travellers in this group who are at particular risk because the validity of their passport would be assessed on the issue date alone. A ground handler working for Norwegian at Gatwick Airport recently told The Independent that they were turning away 6 people a day due to the way that the passport rules were being applied. The newspaper also reported that a British tourist was deported from Norway in February. The artist concerned had lodged a formal complaint with Norwegian in an attempt to recover hundreds of pounds she spent on an emergency passport renewal and replacement flight. She had to fly to Glasgow to use the one-day service as there were no appointments available in London that enabled her to get to Denmark before the festival ended. She then flew on to Copenhagen from there. This was a significant opportunity for me to present and pitch my films, she says. As a result, I missed 2 full days of the festival and incurred personal losses of about £700. Norwegian said it could not comment on individual claims, but added, "We regret the disruption to our passengers due to inconsistent interpretation of Schengen passport rules by the Nordic countries. As an airline, we must comply with local border control directives which are currently unclear. We have urged the authorities to provide clear, unified guidance to airlines in order to prevent further passenger issues and to avoid penalties for our company. The airline is awaiting guidance from police in Norway and Sweden on their position." The Copenhagen police said that any rejected passenger had the opportunity to appeal, but to date, the country's Immigration Appeals Board had not overturned any of its decisions. Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm just going to simplify my position on it. I've got a driving licence. It tells me what the expiry date is. I've got a travel card, a rail card, over 60s card. It tells me what the expiry date is. I can use it up to the day that it expires, and then the day after I can't use it, so I have to get a new one. I know there's a lot of rules around EU and Schengen and all the rest of it, but why have they made this so complicated? And why have the airlines and check-in staff not been given correct information? Because I see this on The Independent a lot, where Simon Calder reports on various incidents where the check-in staff have not interpreted the rules correctly and have turned away passengers. Now, getting into a full-blown argument with a check-in member of staff is not a good thing, but you can see why people might do that if they know that they're in the right and that the member of staff is not correct. So I just wonder what other people's views on this are.
Well, I've got a new passport. I literally only just renewed mine, even though I had probably about 8 months left on it, but
don't rub it in, you'll upset the artist.
No. I mean,
I don't know. I genuinely.
Or is it because they're hoping they can find loads of people and get loads of revenue in?
Oh, no.
What I don't understand is, you see, we're trying. Everybody's keen to have efficient border control and all the rest of it. So why is there a set of rules which has become ambiguous or open to interpretation? I do not understand it. The whole of the EU and the UK and everybody involved with this need to get their heads together and get it fixed, because this is just a ridiculous situation. Now, if you need 6 months validity on your passport after it's expired, that's fair enough. I get that. But what they're talking about here is when it's the date of issue. That is the problem. So and until they get this solved properly, there's just going to be ongoing trouble with border control and people being turned away and, frankly speaking, aggressive passengers, because we've seen what happens when it goes wrong at check-in, haven't we? So
I saw a family and they were decline boarding, and I didn't hear the dates in the passports, but they were all saying that they were in date for 3 months, and that's their family holiday or a trip to whatever it was, see relatives gone. And the airline said if you read the small print when you're booking and also when you're checking in, this is clearly stated. But if there's something that critical that's going to jeopardize your whole family holiday, there should be another warning popping up saying just FYI, have you seen this, or are you sure that all of your passports are compliant within the following validity period? Because it really is a huge discrepancy in the check-in process as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, I think the thing is that I don't get, Alan, is the fact that it seems to be open to interpretation and who you get on the day.
And there's there's different rules for different countries, and that's where it goes a little bit bananas then.
I can kind of get that a little bit, but where I have a real issue with it is the fact that there is ambiguity, and the fact that they have not buttoned this down properly, irrespective of what the rules are. They need to have a rule which the airlines and the check-in staff, and of course very often it's not the airline that's checking in staff, it's subcontracted to Menzies or Swissport or somebody else. So those guys and girls need to make sure that they've got the rule book in their head as well, and the correct one. So yeah, it's this needs to be solved, because this is just causing massive expense and delays, and it's completely unnecessary, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is, or whether this does exist now, but is there a way of having a system when you do your API, your advanced passenger information, when you obviously do your check-in stuff, or when you book your ticket, I should say, when you input on your API your passport valid and your expiry date and stuff, surely there should be a system which would, if you put a date in on your passport and it was not within regulation of where the country you're going to, with the dates and stuff like that, would there be a pop-up box that come up and says, do you realise your passport is...
I don't know, because I've never had that yet, because I've always travelled with a valid passport. But I would imagine that if you put in a date which is not acceptable to the airline, you'll get to know about it, either with a pop-up dialogue box or an email from the airline or something. I don't know what the position would be there, but yeah.
I had that with Flybe before now, where I was trying to book, and I think it was within 12 months of my passport expiration date, and it was a one-way flight from, I think, Newquay to Heathrow on a Dash 8, and they... a warning came up on the online booking system saying, unfortunately, we can't process your request as your passport's within the limits. Please contact the following number. So the next day I phoned the agents, and they were really helpful. And they said, yeah, that's fine. If it's a one-way business trip, that's okay. We just have to check when it gets to within a year to make sure, because they didn't kind of go into details. They processed it over the phone, and very helpful. And but it was the first time I'd ever seen anything about passports and not being allowed, even though the passport was, I think, 10 months, remaining.
Yeah, I have a lot of sympathy for the check-in staff and the people on the gate, but up until the other week when I was coming back from Edinburgh after I broke my ankle when I was getting on a flight, and obviously BA want to see some photo ID even on domestic flights now, which can be a driving licence or a passport. So I produced my driving licence because I didn't have a passport with me because I was just flying Heathrow, Edinburgh and back. And the very nice lady on the gate says, "Can I see your passport?" I said, "No, you can't." 2 reasons for that. One, it's at home. And secondly, you do not need to see it because I've shown you my valid driving licence, and she wouldn't have it. So we entered into a slightly longer discussion, bearing in mind I've got a faulty leg, so I'm not in the best of moods. But I've not lost it. I've been polite. And eventually she said, "Oh, yes, that's fine." But was, pushing back quite hard. And I probably was a little bit too sarcastic by saying I still thought that Scotland was part of the United Kingdom.
Okay, right. So that would have gone down really well, I'm sure. Yes.
But it was a factually correct statement.
Yes. Mum doesn't have a passport. When we come over to Ireland, we've done it with Ryanair and EasyJet actually, and I've always been super nervous because she's got a citizen's card, which, to be fair to Ryanair, they've never queried. The only people who have queried it, believe it or not, were EasyJet. Yeah. And again, we had to have a little bit of a battle just to sort of say, well, look, we don't require a passport. All it states on your website is that you require photo ID, and that was absolutely fine because we were flying into Northern Ireland as well, so there was no issue, if you like, there. But yeah, weirdly, the one airline I was most terrified about being funny about it, which was Ryanair, were absolutely fine with it, and onwards, please, Mrs. Smith. It was all fine. So Mum's made the decision that she doesn't want to get another passport, and what little flying we do, which is just over the border, is she's got one of these UK citizens cards, and that's what we use to fly. And so far, as I say, apart from the one challenge, it hasn't been an issue. But
Richard Adams in the chat room says he only ever takes his driving licence to Ireland with him. Darren Smith says in the chat room, remember, from October this year, new entry rules start. EU visas.
Yes.
That'll be fun. Can't wait for that. Right, moving on to the next story. This is from 1mileatatime.com. Matt's got a couple of little videos to play after this. This is something that was, featured quite heavily on the social medias this week. And this is the aircraft, the Cessna 172, that made a rather impressive landing. So aircraft loses engine, lands on Californian golf course. So around 1 p.m. local time on Friday last week, a Cessna 172 made an unbelievably impressive emergency landing in Southern California. There were 2 people on board, and the pilot had reported engine issues. While the initial plan was to land at Santa Monica Airport, the plane couldn't quite make it, so the pilot looked for somewhere to land and decided to touch down at the Riviera Country Club. I'm sure they were well impressed on hole 9. Roughly 6 miles north of the airport in the Pacific Palisades. In the video, which was posted online, you could hear stunned golfers saying, "I'm not moving." Sure he would have done. And another golfer saying, "Holy my word, are they okay?" And the aircraft bounced several times off a green and pathway before coming to a stop upright just feet from some golfers. According to the Los Angeles Fire Department, both people on board the aircraft were uninjured, and all the people on board on the golf course as well. No one was injured there as well. And for those of you watching in the world of YouTube, you can see the video there of the Cessna 172, which I have to say, and I've seen a few people online reviewing this, including Blancalerio, who were quite impressed with this young pilot. I think he was 21, I think, if I remember the report saying. He was quite a low-hour pilot, of the aircraft who made what I think is a damn good landing. But Matt, I know you've got the live ATC recording to play, so we can listen to just what happened on that particular day.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. Skyhawk 3753 Lima's lost all engine power. We are at 2,000, and we are about 5 miles north of Santa Monica looking for a spot to land.
Number 375 Lima, Santa Monica Tower. Landing will be, or you're clear to land on any runway. The wind is 220 at 8, altimeter 29er8.
Yeah, we're not going to be making the runway. Looking for a spot right now.
Number 57 Lima, Roger. Landing will be at your own risk. We will try to have personnel ready on the ground here.
And Santa Monica Tower, we got 2 souls on board, and we're gonna try to make a field up here. There's not many good spots to land, so we're gonna do our best.
Number 53 Lima, right.
Santa Monica Tower, system 53440, holding short runway 21 for left close traffic.
Number 53440, Santa Monica Tower, left close traffic, runway 21, clear to land. I'm sorry, number 440, runway 21, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 21440.
Tower Unit 2, can you state the position of the inbound aircraft?
Unit 2, the inbound aircraft, they're about 2 miles south of the Getty. They're over the Riviera Country Club, I'm being told here. They're at 500 feet indicated.
Roger that.
November 53 Lima, Santa Monica Tower.
I'm not fucking. I'm not fucking. Are they okay?
Santa Monica Tower 2, you copy?
This is November 53 Lima calling.
This is 3753 Lima, and we're down okay, no storm, so we are on the golf course.
November 53 Lima, thank you. We are sending personnel there. We're letting them know that you're at the golf course. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your help, and no injuries, so we walk away with.
I mean, the only thing I would say about that is that there is going to be a greenkeeper who is absolutely fuming about that.
do you know what? One of the things, and I mean, Matt's been up there a number of times as well, and obviously Nev's been up there as well. Over at Beccles, where I learned, there was a 172 up there, and one of the first things that we were talking about is when you learn to fly is about the Cessna 172 and the 150, and the replies you get from all the instructors are that the reason they chose the 172 and the 150 for training aircraft is that they are built like a brick outhouse. You can throw the things onto the deck and they won't fall. They're awesome, well-made aircraft, and you could see that aircraft really did do some serious off-roading, and I don't think. From the reports I've seen, there wasn't any visible damage to the aircraft. Obviously, the engine's probably not in that situation because it's, it wasn't working, wasn't functioning at all. I think the prop wasn't moving at all when the aircraft came in. But what do you think, Nev, of this particular
I think he did a top job, bearing in mind his lack of experience. I think he did a superb job there, actually. But yeah, I hope there's a beer waiting for him on the 19th hole.
Is he old enough to drink?
Yeah. Goodness me.
What do you think of this, Alan, of the whole situation?
Do you know what? The first time I saw the video, I actually had to watch it 3 or 4 times because from the way the plane moved, it looked like it was actually a Microsoft Flight Simulator video. It seemed nearly too perfect, the way it kind of just bounced around without the wings just collapsing off. So I had to watch it back, and then when I heard the observer's comments, I realised, okay, no, that's real. You know what? Brilliant effort. Radio communications, very calm. The whole time he relayed where he was with ATC, the nature of the problem, his intentions. That's all you can ask from any pilot with thousands of hours. If they're a young pilot, fairly new in their journey, you can't ask for better than that. It's the aircraft. I think it looks like it will fly again. The airframe, yeah, you're right. Maybe about the engine, but maybe he went through the checklists and he cut the mixture to save it, because if he tried to land with the prop and the prop was spinning, then he might have actually caused a lot more damage. So maybe the prop not moving might have actually saved the engine as well. So there wasn't any accident or any landing you walk away from is a good landing, but. You know what? Impressive.
I mean, there's a strong argument that every landing is essentially a controlled crash at the end of the day.
You fly Ryanair too much, Matt.
Okay, my apologies.
There's a few comments in the chat room, Alan. Quite a few comments in the chat room from people saying about the fact that the ATC said land at your own risk.
I've never heard that. Normally they will, if you think back to the Miracle on the Hudson, and they'll try and give you options. They'll never kind of, the worst thing they can do, and this happened to me a couple of days ago. I was on final approach and the ATC told me, can you land long? There's a plane coming in behind you. The last thing you want to do when the pilot's in a situation like that is to throw a curveball at them, because their attention will literally just go from making a nice touchdown. Then you might think, oh, can I stretch the landing? Can I try and land on the runway instead of that lovely golf course where, there's a couple of bunkers and divots, but overall I'll walk away from it. ATC shouldn't be kind of influencing the decision. They should support them and just kind of...
All right.
They should just be there kind of supporting the decision to the pilot and providing whatever information they can. So, that's my... That's my take on it anyway. But do you know what? It's 2,000 feet to nice glide altitude. I reckon he probably had about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. I'm trying to think about when I used to fly and the circuit pattern when you used to have to glide approaches. I think he got about 45 to 50 seconds from 1,000 feet. So it would have given him enough time to come up with a plan and prepare the aircraft and give the passenger a quick reminder brief on what was going to happen. But yeah, he did really, really well.
Yeah, hats off to him. I think he's won praise from quite a few people in the community, I think, with that land. And so, yeah, good on him, I say. I'm sticking with you, Alan. This is a story that you pointed out to me this week, and we've added it in. And I think you've got a bit of an insight in what happened here.
Yeah, it's from the BBC. So 3 arrested after Shannon Airport security breach. So 3 people have been arrested in the Republic of Ireland after a van was driven through a perimeter fence at Shannon Airport in County Clare, which is over on the west coast of Ireland. The incident happened at about 18:30 local time on Thursday last week and caused the airport to close for a short time, preventing a number of flights from landing. The van is believed to have been driven across a grass area beside the main road into the airport before it crashed through a perimeter fence. While it breached the fence, the van was stopped from going any further by a trench. It is believed a number of people wearing orange jumpsuits, hard hats and scarves then headed towards a taxiway near the runway before being seen, the Irish national broadcaster RTE reported. The protest group Palestine Action Era claimed responsibility in a statement. An Garda Síochána, which is the Irish police, said officers responded to an incident of criminal damage at the airport and that 3 people arrested remain in custody. Shannon Airport said there were minimal delays of 10 minutes to 2 flights when the incident happened and that it is operating a normal schedule on Friday. The airport has long been a site of protests over its use by the US military. The Irish government offered the use of the airport to the United States in 2002 after the September the 11th attacks, leading to it being used as a regular stopover for US troops travelling to fight in the Iraq War. Anti-war protesters and, in more recent years, pro-Palestine protesters have made the airport a regular site of demonstrations over those connections with the US. So, like Carla said, I was actually on duty, and that's my home base is in Shannon, and the area where they broke in was literally right beside the ASL hangar where we were based out of at the moment. So we'd moved our aircraft, which had been in the kind of the vicinity of the fence that they broke in, about an hour before. We'd fueled it up and brought it back to our hangar for the night to put it to bed. And we were in the hangar and we were kind of doing some paperwork and wrapping up. And it was only when we got back to the crew house after we put it on the news and we saw it and we're like, there was 2 other aircraft. And so we realised it was literally right beside where we were. So it was a bit of a shock to us because we hadn't heard any commotion, or there was it didn't affect us leaving the airport. But like it said in the article, Shannon is really, really heavily protested. Every month there's a protest, and it's due to the fact that the US military, nearly every day there's Hercules going in. This week alone, I think I've seen two of I think they're C-47s, the military 757s. They stop off with secretaries of states or whatever and refuel on their journeys. So it is a very high profile airport in that regard. And it's just, hearing these stories kind of makes me nervous because it's showing areas of the airport and weaknesses that shouldn't be highlighted to the general public. So that's kind of a little bit, that's why I wanted the story to be included, Carlos. So yeah,
I think also the other thing is people who may not know that part of the world, Shannon isn't some sort of small regional operation. I mean, it's a 3,200 metre runway for a start, and it's a big airport with, as you say, combination of commercial and military traffic going in and out of there. So it's a very substantial operation. And the security breach of that nature is definitely worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it happens, let's say, once every 2 years. In fairness, the airport police and security, they're patrolling every 5 minutes. I've never seen an airport that's as heavily patrolled as Shannon. And it's just down to it's definitely a target because they know that if they breach the fence, they'll get on 6 o'clock news that evening. The only thing they don't think about it is, or maybe they do, and it's like a badge of honour. But I spoke to someone and they were saying that their son was at a protest before and got arrested. And then when he was offered a job in the United States about 10 years later, it was found out that he had a criminal record for protesting and the job was rescinded because he couldn't get the appropriate work visa. So people don't think about the repercussions that these things have on your life. But yeah, it can really mark the rest of your life.
Has the airport got a specific Garda presence dedicated to the airport?
There's a Garda station in Ennis, which is in Shannon, which is the town nearby. But then they have their own airport police as well. So they've got patrols. On Garda Síochána patrol the outside, and then the airport police patrol the inside. And it's like I said, I've never seen an airport that's as regularly patrolled as Shannon. It is incredible. So hopefully it'll deter people, but I hope anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shouldn't be necessary though, should it? That's the frustration.
It shouldn't. But unfortunately, if someone sees a Hercules parked up or a US kind of painted aircraft parked up in Shannon, the word will get around, and pretty quick you'll get some sort of a mob forming to try and protest. And I've been stuck in traffic jams where they've closed the roads or they've kind of done sit-down protests, and it's every operation has to kind of deal with it and find another way into their place of work. But it's when they breach the perimeter fence that's when it starts to get worrying.
Can't hear you, I'm afraid, Carlos.
Oh, you should be able to.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're back.
Oh. Yeah, the idea is don't be silly.
Wait, sorry.
That's the whole
distorting,
idea.
I'm afraid.
No.
Can you bring it down a bit? Thank you.
God, I haven't even touched the part. I think there's a ghost in this studio, I swear. Yes, anyway, like I was saying, the idea is to not be silly and do silly things.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Now, Nev, you've got the next story, and this is good news if you are living in the US and have a rather large amount of points.
Yeah, definitely. It's on flyingmag.com, and it says that American Airlines is offering members of its frequent flyer program, that's quite difficult to say, Advantage, a rare opportunity to step into the cockpit of a Boeing 787 virtually. In partnership with MasterCard, the airline has launched an exclusive auction allowing members to redeem miles for a unique flight simulator experience. For the first time, Advantage members can bid on a package that includes a private 4-hour session in a Boeing 787 full-motion flight simulator located at the carrier's Skyview headquarters campus in Fort Worth, Texas. The session is guided by a professional pilot and includes a pre-flight briefing and simulated flights over scenic locations. They say, feel the rush as you embark on your virtual flight adventure, choosing your own route and taking on real-world challenges. Imagine soaring over the breathtaking snow-capped peaks of Mount Rainier after departing Seattle, or cruising through a golden Miami sunset, the airline stated on the auction listing. You'll make flight decisions, experience the thrill of takeoff and landing, and feel the pulse of real aviation. Plus, enjoy a one-on-one session with the pilot to learn what it's like to live the dream of a professional aviator. The package, which is scheduled in July, also includes a 2-night stay at the Thompson Dallas by Hyatt, complete with a $100 food and beverage credit. That won't go very far. And transportation between the hotel and the simulator facility. The experience is designed for one member and a guest. The auction is currently live on MasterCard's Priceless.com platform and will close on May the 18th at 11:59 p.m. local time. Bidding is available exclusively to Advantage members using miles. Well, at the time of writing, the current bid is 600,000 miles, and the package does not include air travel or transportation to and from DFW. Wow. I mean, you know, I'm all for a go on it, but that's a lot of points.
600,000
to chuck out away, isn't it? Yes.
Oh my word! However many pounds, what does that equate to pounds? Could you work that in dollars or pounds? Never. I don't.
Yeah, well, American, I think, have the dollar conversion, don't they? Per miles. I can't remember what their calculation is, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
For 4 hours with Andy Wilson.
Well, you know, people have paid more for that, and some people have married him.
Yeah. Always a shock.
Hopefully, we'll get a catch up with Andy at some point. We'll find out how close they are with the 100 chances of getting a sim session with Andy. Yeah. Right, that is the last bit of the commercial news for this week, and it's time to move on to the next part of the show, which is a very exciting part for many of the listeners and viewers. Nev, what's next?
I thought we would run out of content for this segment by now, but there's plenty of where this came from. Well, this week we head way back to the 1960s and to a time where the service was fresh and the aircraft was smoking.
Special airline. A regional airline. In the next few hours, Flight 941 will directly affect thousands of people in the northern west portion of the United States. Accompanied by the clanging clatter of departure, the ritual of motion begins. The miracle of flight is a testament to the achievement of the 20th century. In 3 short decades, the airplane has progressed from novelty to necessity. But as commercial travel expanded, the smaller communities found themselves isolated from major air terminals. Providing transportation between these local and urban terminals became the function of the regional airline. In 1946, the Civil Aeronautics Board granted the first regional certificate to West Coast Airlines. Today, there are 13 regional carriers. The modern traveler has adapted readily to the sophistication of the jet age. Today, it's routine to fly non-stop across the oceans or coast to coast. The regional airline is different. described by many as a repetition of takeoffs and landings. But for stewardess Carol Clark, working on a regional carrier is a personal experience.
I've been to every city we service many times, but it never gets dull. I love to fly. That's why I wanted to work for a regional airline. Our flights don't last 6 or 7 hours. They're short. Passengers are usually aboard less than an hour. That gives me a chance to meet people. It's gotten so I can greet some of our regulars by name. I feel that I help make their trip more enjoyable. With 12 scheduled trips each week, I cover a lot of miles. This morning, I started in Seattle.
I mean, wow. Wow. I mean, that was a documentary, wasn't it? I mean,
it was.
Oh,
I
Bill.
tell you what, a bit like Captain Cruz in the chat room, I thought I'd, knew a little bit about some of these regional carriers, but I've never heard of West Coast Airlines, but they were a US local service carrier that connected smaller Pacific Northwest cities with larger hubs. So it operated scheduled flights from 1941 until 1968, serving destinations in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, Montana, California, and Alberta in Canada. How about that? So, yeah. Every day is a school day.
Plenty of comments in the chat room. Masha loved the smooth jazz music. Bill said, God, he feels old. He says, I remember flying on a DC 9-10. Richard Adams says, plenty of smoke both inside and outside.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Bill said, this commercial is longer than the damn jet.
Yeah.
And Richard Adams just popped up there with less than an hour of a flight, he means, and they still needed to smoke.
Yeah, the last flight I took, which was a smoking one, was on Egypt Air from Cairo back to Heathrow. And the smoking section where I didn't smoke, was in the back of the aircraft, and the non-smoking section was in the front. I just would like to point out it makes very little difference.
No.
And that was within... When was that? That was that felt like about 1994, 95, something like that. So Egypt Air was still operating flights back then where you could smoke. But as people have pointed out, there's plenty of smoke coming from those engines, isn't it? Incredible.
What do you think about the retro airline ads, Alan? Obviously, you've seen a few now.
The ads are like, the documentaries are a little bit long for me now. No, that was good. No, I must say, I'd never even heard of the airline like Nev. So, but yeah, the DC-9's absolutely gorgeous. It really is a beautiful looking aircraft.
Right. Moving on to the next part of the show, then it's the grey stuff, and we've got some awesome video to show you in this next part. Then, and it's Nev's favourite bit. It's the military news segment.
What's up, bogeys? 135, 50, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 seat bogeys.
And the first news story this week, and it's been it's been the big news ever since the weekend is, of course, the VE80 anniversary day, and it's from the BBC.co.uk. This one, a 360-degree video of the Red Arrow flypast VE Day. So the flypast marking the 80th anniversary of VE Day was filmed in a 360 video inside one of the Red Arrow's planes above central London. You could follow that. You could probably see that video online if you look. I tried to find that one, but we did manage to find the video that Matt's now playing, which is also one that was done of the entire formation display above central London. And you can see the Lancaster bomber on the screen there. And I was lucky, Matt. I don't know whether you had what you're up to the weekend, but we in the east of England here, we totally got missed by the entire formation. They didn't come over here at all. They ended up flying over Ipswich, down a bit sort of further south to us, so we completely missed these guys. But we did, you could see these on Flight Radar 24 during the process where they were kind of rallying up and going into kind of a holding pattern just off the Norfolk coast, getting ready to fly into central London. But you had the A330 MRT, the A400M was there as well, and I think one of the more interesting aircraft of the whole display for me was the RC-135, the rivet joint that was flying on that formation. Thank you, Dave, trying to pull the cable out my ear here. But yeah, if you're watching on the world of YouTube there, you can see the video of the aircraft flying in formation above London. Nev, did you watch this on the big screen?
Well, I remember saying on last week's show that both you and I were going to see it firsthand, but just as you found, I don't know whether it was weather related, because there's some pretty low cloud around actually, but yeah, they came nowhere near our place at all, and I thought that they might do. They went past Denham Airport to the northwest of London, or west of London I should say, but knowing that the obviously the MRTT was based at Bryce Norton, I thought, oh well, it's bound to go overhead like it always does, and it didn't. So we saw absolutely nothing at all of it, so we had to watch it on the telly, same as everybody else.
Yeah, Matt, did you get a chance to watch this on TV or not the weekend?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. No. Yeah, sort of super busy, sadly, but yeah, it's I did watch the like the celebration and stuff they did on the TV. That was quite nice.
It was quite nice, yeah. Seeing the street celebrations was quite nice, with all the tables and chairs and all the cakes and stuff being brought out in the street, which is really nice in some of the local kind of villages and towns across the UK. Alan, did you get a chance to see any of this on the TV?
I did. I sat down with a cup of tea to watch it on BBC One, and it was worth it. Do you know what? I love the flypasts, and I don't know, they seem to turn very quickly to the north, so the right-hand turn. That's what I noticed, because they seem to go over Buckingham Palace, and then there was a pretty much immediate right-hand turn. Of course, as I'm saying that, the red arrows aren't turning, so there's my point gone. But there you go. Now they're starting their bank.
Yeah, I noticed that as well when they had the A400M and the A330 as well, done that immediate bank.
The other thing, I'm no big environmentalist, as you probably realise, but that's the A330 that took off from Bryce Norton, went all the way across to that holding area and sat at about 1,800 feet at 250 knots for over 2 hours before the rest of the guys and girls joined up. That must have been burning a lot of fuel at that altitude, mustn't it?
They were, like you said, Nev, they were there holding with the A400M there as well. That got there just after. That was in a hold just next to it as well for, it must have been in nearly an hour. And then the RC-135 joined them just a bit closer to the coast, doing a kind of orbit pattern. And that was there for a fairly good 30-40 minutes. It was there in the hold, and obviously the Eurofighter Typhoons came in and joined them along with the Red Arrows at a later point. But it is nice to see that you could obviously see them on FR24, and you could actually see them and follow them in to London, which is always quite nice to use the app to see them. But I am gutted it they didn't come across here, because actually, believe it or not, we had fairly good visibility here for that particular part of the day. So yeah, unfortunate that is. But Alan, going to give you the next story, and this is sort of, well, not sad news, but it is sad news when you see historic aircraft like this.
I think this aircraft was meant to be in the fly past on Sunday as well, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I thought I heard them say that something about that in the commentary. Maybe it wasn't. But anyway, it's from kentonline.co.uk. That's where this story comes from. And it's a Spitfire crash lands in a crop field in West Hythe. Fire crews and paramedics were sent to the scene after a Spitfire crash landed in a farmer's field. Pictures show the historic aircraft among crops just off the Lower Wall Road in West Hythe. Witness Emily saw the plane land just after a touchdown. She told Kent Online, "We were on our way home from shopping and saw another Spitfire circling, which we thought was unusual, so thought perhaps they were practicing for a VE Day ceremony. We watched that Spitfire for a couple of minutes and it flew off. So we continued driving and came across the plane which had just crashed. The pilot and passenger were luckily out of the aircraft. Bystanders were walking across the field, so we pulled up, and when we walked across the field ourselves to check, everyone was okay, which is great to hear. We contacted the farmer to make them aware and to get them the gate opened. Spokesperson for the fire service stated, "We were called to an aircraft that had made an emergency landing. 2 fire engines attended and crews helped to make the scene safe. 1 person was passed into the care of the SECAMB paramedics. Crews left the scene just after 9 p.m. The aircraft belonged to the Biggin Hill based Spitfire Experience Fly a Spitfire. A spokesperson for the company said, "We are aware of an incident involving one of our Spitfire aircraft in the vicinity of Hythe. We've spoken to the pilot, who was advised that a precautionary landing was made at a non-airfield site. The pilot and passenger are uninjured, and at this stage we have no further information." Kent Online understands that the plane was built in 1943, entered into service with the 441 Squadron of the Royal Canadian Air Force, serving with the Royal Air Force. Its first operational sortie was flown on the 25th September 1944. So, another Spitfire crashed, unfortunately, which is a shame. Although, thankfully, the crew are okay, and fingers crossed as well that the aircraft, it doesn't look, I'm just looking at the pictures here, it looks like it might be airworthy.
Have you got the pictures of these, Matt, for the story? Hello? Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, it's awful to see this, but like I said, I think they in one of the pictures that Matt's got there as well, you could see it. It's been jacked up onto stands to obviously get the gear released and stuff. So, yeah, this is the twin-seater version of this. You can actually book to go and fly with on this aircraft as well, and have a flight. But it's awful to see. These kind of pictures, but like you said, fingers crossed. The damage, obviously, the engine will have to have a complete overhaul, I'd imagine, because of the prop strike, and there'll be various bits that have to be checked. But it wouldn't surprise me if it wouldn't be too drastically long before this aircraft might well be back into flying service. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it was a belly up landing, and with the hopefully they can replace the engine, and the rest of the things will buff out. But it doesn't look too bad anyway, which is positive. But I'm not an air crash investigator or an aircraft maintenance engineer, so I can't diagnose it based on the photos. But fingers crossed anyway. But look, most important thing is the crew and the passenger walk away.
Yeah, update from Mr. Warner, who's in the chat room. Hello to you. This he says this is a private Spitfire, so wouldn't have been part of the fly past. The BBMF ones were supposed to join the Lancaster, but the winds were out of limits at Coningsby. He said the Lancaster operated from RF Waddington. So there we go.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, if you've got a spare kind of $4,500, $5,000 or whatever, Alan, you can go and have a go on one of these Spitfires.
I'm still paying off my flying debt, so no.
I'm surprised you've not taken that up yet, Nev, and had a go. In the retirement days, sort of, drew a few quid out and had a go.
Yeah, I know, but It's sort of, yeah, I could quite easily live what I would term a bachelor's aviation lifestyle, and burn through money extremely quickly by doing things like that. But one of these days I might do. Once we've got all the projects in the house out of the way, and
they're never out of the way now. They're never out of the way.
You're right. It's an ongoing thing, isn't it? In fact, ask any person that's retired, they'll say, I've never worked as hard since I've been retired. But we'll have to see. But yep, it'd be a great thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think for anyone as a bucket list item, if you've got the funds to be able to do it once in your life, I think a flight in a Spitfire would be kind of the top of the list for me, definitely. And to do the one where they go over the White Cliffs of Dover as well, I think would be absolutely fantastic. So better start saving up. No, perhaps I can do it before I retire. Anyway, right, Nev, air shows for this year. We are off to a few, aren't we? Hopefully all being well.
Yep, got a couple on the go here. Mentioned last week the Duxford Summer Air Show, Saturday, June the 21st. We'll be there at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford. The adult price is £54.50, and that does include the £5 parking ticket, which you must get if you want to park on site. But however, if you're an IWM member, that is reduced to £49.55 with the discount. Children can go free if they are 15 years or younger, but they must be accompanied by an adult. July the 26th, Shuttleworth Summer Air Show. Have not been to that before. Looking forward to that. Gates open from 9 o'clock. Flying commences at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it actually goes all the way through to 9 o'clock in the evening. So it'll be quite nice to see some Twilight Zone flying. Prices there, £42 for adults. If you're a member at Shuttleworth, it's £36. And again, children go free. Just check the website to see what the age limit is there on children going free. And Saturday, the 2nd of August, we are off to the Bray Air Display, just south of Dublin in the Republic of Ireland. And that's the biggest public free event in Ireland. And Alan very kindly has given us some assistance so far in terms of logistics and what have you. Anything more to report on that one, Alan, at the moment?
Nothing more. I actually spoke to the organiser earlier on in the week with regards to what's going to be turning up on the day. At the moment, they've got an Aer Lingus A320 confirmed, an Emerald Airlines ATR 72-600 confirmed. They've got a whole vast array from the Irish Air Corps, from the CASA, I call it the CASA, it's the Airbus C295, some of the PC-12s, the PC-9s, and then some of their helicopter stuff. I think they've got AW Augusta Westland 139 and 145s. There's going to be the Team Raven, and apparently they're moving this year from a 4-ship to a 7-ship formation. So that's going to be the first year they're going to be using that new formation. And there is lots of other things to be confirmed, but we're going to have a good bit of content over the couple of days that we're going to be in Ireland. So, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it. Keep your eyes peeled, folks, on their Facebook site as well. In the updates are normally posted on there as well. So that's the Bray Air Display, Saturday, August the 2nd. On the 30th of August, it's the Beccles PTUK Summer Meetup. More details for that to follow. It's always a good day out, weather permitting as well, hopefully. And also, hopefully, we're going to be at the Sywell Airfield for Sywell Pistons and Props Air Show on Saturday, September the 20th. We are still waiting for some press accreditation information there. So if the organisers are listening, if you would like to reply to my emails, I would be very grateful indeed. All being well, we'll be there on the 20th of September. Adults are £18 and under 15s are free of charge. That's for a single day adult ticket. So yeah, quite a lot in the bag for this year coming, and I'm hoping that the weather is going to play ball as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll hopefully have a decent summer this year. Anyway, all being well. Oh, thanks, Matt. And for your local weather updates, don't forget to listen to Park Radio every week. Right, Nev, where can everyone find out?
I say it's a bit localised, perhaps, for our audience.
That would be true, yeah. Where can people find out more about us as a show, Nev?
Yeah, so just search the socials on Facebook, X, Instagram and LinkedIn. Just search those platforms for Plane Talking UK and you'll find us there. podcast@planetalkinguk.com is the email address to drop us a note. And also we've got a new WhatsApp number. That's +44 7446 975 214. That's +44 7446 975 214. We're on YouTube, of course, as well, and you'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room, as so many people have done this evening. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. You can become a Patreon of the podcast as well. That helps us with media hosting costs, website hosting costs, etc. If you feel that you're able to donate, that would be very much appreciated. Just go to the website planetalkinguk.com and all the details are on there.
Yes, we would love to hear from you. Definitely would love to hear your feedback for sure. So that is where we're going to wrap up episode 550 of the show this week. Big thanks to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in this evening. Also, thanks to everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast as well. We really do appreciate you tuning in and listening to the show each week. Going to say thank you very much indeed to our special guest tonight, Allan. Thank you for joining us, Allan. It's been great to have you on the show as always. Don't be a stranger. Come back and see us soon.
I won't, don't worry. Good to see you all again, guys. And we've got lots of exciting plans for Brace. So, yeah, we'll be in touch.
Also, Allan, it's great to be following your new journey as well as you get into the right-hand seat again. That's absolutely fascinating. And, yeah, looking forward to hearing more about that as well.
Absolutely. I'll keep you posted. And it's just looking at the roster. It's kind of still a bit overwhelming when I see it. But, yeah, I'm enjoying it. And, yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Great.
Excellent. Also, thanks to Nev for joining in this week. As always, thank you, Mr. Bounds. Always good to see you in the studio. And thank you to our very own Matt Smith for pressing all those right buttons this evening and all the twiddly knobs and all that kind of thing. So that's it for episode 550. Have a great rest of the week. And don't forget to send us in. If you've got any news stories that you want us to cover on the show, make sure you let us know. Send us them to our email address. And we'll be back next week for episode 551 of the show. So from me, Carlos here, from Nev, from Matt, and from Allan. Have a great weekend this weekend, and we'll see you next week. Say goodbye, Nev.
Take care, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.
You're going to cook a ding-ding dinner, did you
A ding-ding dinner, yes.
Microwave dinner.
Microwave dinner. Well done,
Yeah.
Allan.
Wow.
I live on them.
Wow, fair.
You can't beat a ding-ding dinner.
Oh, no, you can. You can actually take the time.
You really can, Carlos.
You really
can.
can.
It's,
You really can.
For me, it's when needs must. I eat ding-ding dinners, but
And check on the boys as well and see how they are.
Well, you have had a video, a visitor into the studio.
Yes, Dave did come in earlier and kind of upset the karma in here, but
I don't know. He looked pretty calm when Ned popped up on the telly, didn't he? He was quite chilled.
Oh dear, honestly, honestly growing is not the word for it. Honestly, I remember the days when I used to have a couple of tins of food a day. And now it's considerably more. A few tins. Cost me a fortune, these boys do, honestly.
Right, okay.
Thanks for the comments in the chat room, by the way. John Falk says, thanks for another great show, guys. Richard E. Flagg, another good show, folks. Thank you very much. Very kind words indeed. Masha says, great show, everyone. Thank you. Why do I love our chat room audience are so good. So good.
Yeah.
Second to none.
It would be incredible if as many of you as you can could come to the meet up at Beccles in the summer in August this year. It'd be so good, so good. We'll try and get you over, Alan. Perhaps you can bring a PA-28 over, hire one, or you can bring
the King Air.
Bring the King Air. I mean, would you get the King Air in Beccles?
No. God no, we're not allowed to fly to many aerodromes. So Beccles definitely. They probably put us into Heathrow or something.
Oh, that's a shame.
You're joking, but we're kind of limited to 3 airports at the moment.
Oh well.
Wow.
You could always fly into London Norwich.
I could.
Yeah.
That does sound terribly expensive.
It is. God, it was expensive when I first started to learn to fly. It was expensive to fly into Norwich, and that was a long while ago.
Okay.
I dread to think what their landing fees are there now. A few quid.
Very expensive bacon roll. That's what that is.
It blinking well is. Yes, definitely $100 burger anyway.
Dollar?
Right.
$1?
Anyway, right. Let's say goodbye.
I mean, euros I can accept, but dollars.
Oh, yeah. Mind you, with the exchange rate as it is at the moment, oh my word, honestly.
Yes, it's
terrible.
It's fair to say we're being hammered by the old Patreon and the exchange rate at the moment. Yeah.
Awful.
Never mind.
Awful.
Never mind.
Anyway, right. It's time to say goodbye and let these lovely people going back to their Wednesday evening and enjoy themselves with a bottle of Pinot.
Ooh.
Hey, Nev. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, again, for tuning in this evening. It's been great to see you all in there. And yes, Richard E. Flagg, very correct indeed. CAF is under new management. Yes, me and Matt can definitely...
yes, we need to talk about that, Carlos.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
We need to have a conversation off air about that.
Yeah. Right, so thanks to everyone, and we'll see you next week. And final words from you, Mr. B.
Yes, I may not be on the show next week.
What?
I'm at the media production show in London at Olympia, so I may be back. I may not be. I'll let you know in plenty of time there.
Nev's coming out of retirement, are you?
Are you?
Well, no, there's a couple of things I want to have a look at for the podcast, and then a couple of people have said, "Well, why don't you come for a beer at the same time?"
Of course, rude not to, Nev. Rude not
It'd be
to.
absolutely rude not to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so hope you have a great week and the weekend and the rest of next week, and hopefully the sun will be shining somewhere. Weather's getting better here in Ireland and in the UK as well, hopefully. So in the meantime, all the best. Bye for now.